Hello friends, welcome to Finance Logic YouTube channel. My name is Evgeny and I would like to share with you tips about creating of scenarios in financial models. Sometimes we need to apply different scenarios and we need to have a very flexible mechanism that allows us to change our scenarios about major inputs that we have or may have in financial model. I'm going to show you two ways how to do it. And the first way is using data validation. So what we have here? We have here three positive scenarios of sales in units of sales of some product. And we want to use cell B8 as a managing cell that allows us to select which scenario should be active at the moment. And our first step would be to create in cell B8 list that allows us to select 1, 2, or 3 because we have 3 scenarios and we want to select always one of them. Let's do that. Let's select cell B8 and I'm going to data validation. And here in this block we can create some restrictions to our cells. By default we have here any value. So validation criteria is to allow any value in cell B8. Instead of any value I would like to see here list, and I select list, and then I need to input source, what kind of data I would like to be inside this list. In our case it is 1, semicolon 2, semicolon 3. Or if this list is too long we can have some prepared list of data and we can always have a direct reference to the area in where we have already prepared list of data. In our example, because we have only 3 options, it's very easy to input it manually. 1, 2, 3. Then click OK, and now we have here a list, and I can select 1 out of 3 numbers. But our exercise is not finished yet because we have to link cell B8 as a managing cell with our selection, with our scenario. The idea is that in row 14 we have selection. We have scenario that is active at the moment. And then all other next calculations in financial model are based on row 14, which is flexible, which can be updated by changing appropriate number of scenario. Now I'm going to use a function that is called choose that allows to choose one of 3 scenarios. It works as follows. First I need to input index number. Index number is cell B8 and all my references should be to cell B8 because it is the only cell that is a managing cell in our case. That is why I have to freeze my reference. To do so, I have to press F4 or Fn F4 depending on your settings. Then semicolon. I'm going to input all my scenarios from positive to negative, and positive is first, so it means I'm inputting positive scenario as first. It means that positive scenario is corresponding to number 1. Then I'm going to input remaining 2 scenarios, and as in B8 we have 1, it means that the first cell should be selected. The first cell, it is cell related to positive scenario, so the result should be 100. If instead of 1 I'm going to use 3, then the result is 80. If B8 is 2, then the result is 90. So let's copy the formula to make it work for all periods that we have here. And so we have created a very flexible tool that allows us to change our input volumes depending on the scenario and to see in real time what we have in terms of profits, return on equities, and other figures that we may have in financial model. Now we have here additional task. We have to prohibit entering sales values greater than 200 units and per year and less than 0. So it's obvious that sales cannot be negative. And also we have to prohibit entering value that is greater than 200, meaning that, for example, our capacities cannot produce more than 200 units per year. So what should I do? At first, I need to select the range to which the rule should be applied, as always, and then I go to data validation again. And here, instead of any value, I would like to see whole number, because it seems like we sell units, and number of units can be only whole. So I would like to select the whole number between, and minimal value is 0 and maximum value is 200. If we want, as an additional feature, we can write some input message. For example, if someone tries to input value greater than 200 or less than 0, we can make some message to be shown. For example, volume of sales can vary between 0 and 200, or any other message that we want to address to someone who inputs wrong number. But that's optional. In our case, all we need is to restrict possible values that we may apply to a certain range. Be careful with that, because such rules should be applied only to input cells, not cells that are results of some formulas, but only to cells that you use as your inputs. I'm going to click OK, and then let's check. If I try to enter, for example, 350, the value does not match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. Then I can retry, cancel, or help. It doesn't make sense to retry. It's better to cancel. And if I want to change it, I know that I need to change data validation parameters. If I try to input negative number, the result is the same. This value does not match the data validation restriction. So now let's go back to our selection, to our scenario selection that we have just created. It's very easy. It's very transparent. It's very simple, but it has some drawbacks or disadvantages. Disadvantage number one: I know that I have drop-down list in cell B8 only if cell B8 is active. So I can see this button that allows me to see the list only if cell B8 is active, only after clicking on the cell B8. This is not very good. Second disadvantage is that I cannot duplicate my selection. So it means that the only place where I can change my scenario is cell B8. And I cannot duplicate it. I cannot create another switch that I can use to manage the light. This is also not so good. And this is the second drop. Also, what I don't like here, when I can understand that I need to select scenario, but what I have here 1 to 3. What is 1 to 3? Of course, for clever persons, it's obvious that 1 to 3 it is positive, neutral, and negative. But for the user of financial model, it would be better if we have here positive, neutral, and negative. If we have here names instead of just numbers. Another way of creating scenario selection is also not very difficult, but it has many advantages comparing to previous one. First, what I need to do, I need to have a button that allows me to manage cell B20. I'm going to developer. If you don't have developer, you can add it using options. I'm going to developer and I need to insert, and here we have many buttons, and the simple way of using these buttons is just using it as tools that allow us to manage content of some cells. In our case, the most appropriate button, the button that we use for scenario selection, is a combo box. That is why I click to combo box, and here I can have the following button. And this button is always active. I can see that there should be some drop-down list. There is no list at the moment, but it's obvious that something should be there. Something I have to select from the list using this button. And now we need to connect this button with cell B20. It's very easy to do it. I'm going to click a right button of my mouse, and I select Format Control. And I need here Control menu, Control section, and the first what I have to do is to determine input range. Input range is names of our scenarios. And I'm going to use this button to select scenario names: positive, neutral, and negative. And I would like to link it to cell B20. And drop down lines, by default it's 8, but I need only 3 because we have 3 scenarios and I need 3 lines. And 3D shading is just it's a visual effect. If you want, you can activate it. That's all that we need here. I click OK, and now we have a drop-down list, and instead of 1, 2, and 3, we have here positive, neutral, and negative. And if I select positive, value of my cell B20 is 1. If I select neutral, then B20 is 2. And when I select negative, then value of B20 is 3. And now we can use the same function choose. We can create scenario selection. I'm going to input reference to cell B20. It should be absolute reference. Press F4 or Fn F4. Then I'm going to input all my 3 scenarios. In this case, it's not volume, it's sales price growth scenarios. So now we have observable button. It is always observable. We don't need to push anything. We don't need to select anything. It's very obvious that here we have to select our scenarios. And the good thing is that we can copy it. So I can copy it, clicking right button, copy, paste. And now I have 2 buttons that I can use to manage the content of the same cell B20. So it means that we can have as many buttons as we need. And sometimes it's very useful because you have your inputs on one sheet and you have results on another sheet. And you want to look how your result is changing based on changing of your input. And that is why for this case it's very useful to have your button near to your result. And again, it's very convenient to see names instead of the numbers. It's obvious that I'm selecting as a user of financial model. I need to select one of 3 scenarios. To finish this discussion, I would like to show you one important thing. If we copy this button to another sheet, so this is a separate sheet, I'm just copy paste the button, and here we have nothing. Because if we press right button and check formal control, we have reference to A23, A25 and cell B20. Cell B20 on new sheet. So now finally let me show you what we need to do in order to be able to copy our button to any place in the workbook. Let's click right button on right mouse button on our scenario selection, and let's go back to format control. Here we need to specify the address of our cells. Instead of A23, A25, we need to specify where exactly. So our input range is on list that is called for scenarios, and the cells are A23 and 25. So what I need to do is to specify the name of my list. The easiest way to do that is to click on this reference button, to walk away for a second to some another list and go back. And select immediately name of our scenarios. Now instead of A23 and A25, I have the name of my list before cells. And we need to do the same with the reference to cell B20. So I walk away for a second, I go back and select B20. Now, if we click OK, I don't need this one. So if we click OK, and now we can copy our button to any place in our workbook, and it refers to appropriate data. We have positive, neutral, and negative. Let's set this negative, and let's check whether it is really negative. Yes, it's negative here, and we have appropriate negative selection. So I hope that this video is useful. Apply these tips when you create your financial models, and I wish you all the best.